Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm Justin Perkins. This is Talk Junkie. This is a mini cast, and this is a mail call. I've been warning, threatening, promising that for the last little bit I would get into answering what little bit of correspondence I get. A lot of times it's a comment on a video. Oddly enough, I'm having this issue where if you go and look, like somebody will make a comment on a video and then it'll tell me who the person is, maybe even show a picture, and the next thing you know, it's gone. There's people sending me photographs of them watching the video, and it not posting the view. I don't know what the deal is there. I don't know. It is what it is. YouTube is not being super reliable for me for whatever reason, and I was hoping for that to be like the easiest way for me to be able to interact with people. But email, authorjperk@gmail.com, is working splendidly. For a small show, it is what it is. You get what you get. Let's approach that first one first. This originally started out as a comment that got deleted, not by me, by the person who posted it, and then into an email. I don't know if she wants her name shared. I don't know. I'm not going to put her. I'm not upset with her. I'm not angry with her. I simply disagree with her, but she raised the point in an email, a comment first, and then an email. And if I don't address it, then, I don't know. I feel like that's the thing for me to do, is to address it and talk about it, and then she can make a decision from there. Am I fear-mongering? I very much am against fear-mongering as a whole. So I would like to say that I'm not, based on mentioning one or commenting on one podcast and deleting it, and then mentioning another. I guess you think I'm doing it over multiple episodes. The zombie apocalypse episode was plainly and clearly stated an act of imagination. I don't know, a thought exercise. It was supposed to be fun. It wasn't real. Oh man, the cough button has become the yawn button because it's early and I'm tired and I'm not sleeping well at night. It's because my sleeping schedule is whacked out. But I digress, back to the point. I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm trying to have fun. Some of the things that you pointed out that were wildly inaccurate about the zombie apocalypse episode were not statements of fact. They were statements actually of imagination. CWD is not spreading to people and causing drooling zombie type activity. No. I said, what if it did? We don't even know that it would cause those same reactions in humans. We don't know what it would do in humans because those prions are not existent in humans as far as taking that type of effect, in my understanding. But I have to go back and look at the research in a serious way, as if I were doing a serious podcast, to tell you if those prions are even found to be able to survive in humans. I don't know. I just know that other diseases, other viruses, other things of other nature have moved from animal to human. And if CWD did, and if CWD affected humans the way it affected animals, then, and only then, you would have a zombie apocalypse. That was the only thing I said. And that's how I said it. I don't make any apologies for it. I believe it's important to acknowledge when you're wrong, things of that nature, but I don't. You did bring up a good point. I've made some statements that have now probably been deemed inaccurate, especially from the Not Another Coronavirus podcast till now. I've made statements on some other podcasts that have been inaccurate. I don't like my own voice enough, but if I did, what I would need to do would be go back and listen to those episodes and see where those are. What I would say is anything that I don't list a source for is more than likely opinion, conjecture, or simply something hearsay wise that I'm not putting heavy emphasis on. If I give a source or state that I know that there is a source of it, then that means it's probably worth your time to look up it. Maybe one thing I know I've said on this podcast and on other podcasts is that the coronavirus is very similar to the flu. That was bad information coming in my part. It's not an influenza type situation. If it was, we would be massively prepared for it. It's the novel coronavirus or coronavirus, apparently, as science has known them up to this point. This came from scientific literature of which nature I can't tell you, so that means you will have to do the research yourself. And it could also prove to not be true. That's how this works when you have something that's new, like a novel or new coronavirus. The coronavirus actually is apparently closer to the code, which may even explain some of the milder symptoms. But it's what happens with certain people as far as where it goes from there to pneumonia and lung damage and the fluid dropping down and all of those great things. But yes, I do make mistakes. It's almost hard to imagine that I'm not perfect. I know my wife has to struggle with that, looking at me and going, how could that man not be perfect? He's so close. I mean, he's right there. He's on the cusp of greatness. When in all actuality, I'm wrong often. I no longer take care of myself. During this temporary apocalypse that we're going through, I've let myself go massively. And I'm, occasionally wrong. But as hard as that is to believe, you need to look at everyone who speaks as if they have the ability to be wrong. Because currently, the best I can tell, everybody has the ability to be wrong. I'm not seeing anything across the board that says that won't happen. But if you listened to that podcast, and this is obviously not you've had an issue with me for a while. It's the second time you've tried to interact in a way saying that I'm a fearmonger. And it's obviously the one that touched you the most. The Catholic priest, if you will, of my actions. And we'll get to that in a second. Then, if you could look at the Zombie Apocalypse 1 and think that it's fear-mongering and take it as anything other than the joke, like the Catholic priest joke I just made, like the fact that you say I'm offensive, I can be offensive, but I don't think I am on this podcast. I think I keep it pretty well within the lines on this podcast. But if those two things are true, you're probably listening to the wrong person. And I'll tell you what I would like more than anything. It's for you to be happy. I don't see any benefit for me for you to be upset. And I'm not upset. And I'm not mad. And It's okay. You don't have to like what I do. I don't even like what I do sometimes. I'm not very good at this, but I'm also not a paid professional. I do it for the heck of it. It's a free time thing. It's okay to not like it. I mean, like I said, I listen to a lot of them, and I don't like them. I'm not the Michael Jordan of podcasting. I'm way down there. I'm closer to like the LeBron James. I flop a lot. But it was a joke podcast with irrational, sometimes, circumstances put up. So my intent was not to fearmonger or to upset you or to ruin your day in any way. If you can work past that, stick with me. It'd be awesome. If you can't, I'm not going to be upset. Send me an email in 6 months and tell me how great you're doing and how much happier you are without me, and that would make me happy. I don't want to see anybody miserable or upset. So, and if I'm offensive and say horrible jokes, I don't know which podcast you're listening to, because the one where I'm offensive and say horrible jokes, we're not currently recording those episodes yet. My guy's holding out on me. It's been a year, and I keep trying to prod him into starting. So, when that one starts, be sure to look for my other podcast to fire up, because if it ever does, that'll be the offensive one you won't want to hear. I'm currently driving and can't get to my sheet of paper, but we'll do this safely, and I'll guess, because I'm inaccurate, and I'm a fearmonger, and I'm offensive, and so at that point, really, is there anything left that I gotta do responsibly? No. I can do whatever I want to do. If you need the acknowledgement of me saying your name, I want to tell you, there's not that many people listening. You're probably about it. So when I don't say your name, just find the other people and start a group and message to them and say, hey, that was me he was talking about. Will I revisit certain topics? Yes, of course I will. And when you send the stuff saying, hey, I liked when you done this, but, I'd like to hear about this. Could you revisit this? I definitely give that thought. I think it would be fun. I think the one question was more referring to the tribalism video. I don't know. There's a tribalism video. I think there's the podcast. This stuff blurs together. I'm very, very interested in the tribalism thing, so I definitely will be revisiting that. As for what I'm working on and researching the most, that's kind of cheating, I guess, because I've had research and stuff on one about first world problems for probably 2 or 3 days. I'll probably finish some of that up today, looking and reading. And a lot of times, research-wise, what it is reading and making myself familiar with certain aspects and things and some information and trying to keep some facts. I've been trying to read some facts verbatim. That way I'm not inaccurate or fear-mongering any more than I have to be. But that one is coming up pretty soon. Brandon... it's not the Brandon I thought it was when I initially read this email, but if I have to pick a way to take my taters, I honestly prefer my taters baked. You didn't give options, you just said, how do you take your taters? I like my taters baked. Fried probably would be the next option there, but baked is definitely the first option. I'm trying a new thing with the mic here, so I'm looking at myself red line out the entire time, so I may end up redoing this. And it's supposed to be a mini cast, almost at 15 minutes. Man, I wish my sheet was not down in my bag and I was not driving. I should pause and be professional and do it, but I'm not going to. It's not going to happen. Yes, for the 500th time, and I appreciate the fact that you're interacting with the show, and I love it, but I do realize there is some issue with the YouTube, at least on your part. Their recommendation was that you like and subscribe, which you are, and then their recommendation the second time was that you delete, like and subscribe again. They had no explanation for the screen grabs you sent me. Actually, they didn't even respond to that part of the question. They tried to schedule like a conference call thing to talk to me once. Look, I don't get enough views to put that kind of effort into it. So, you're getting to see them, and it's telling you when they pop up, dude, look, they're not that good. Don't be that worried over it. What else did we have? I don't remember doing anything else wrong or anything of that. The Spreaker app. Yes, some stuff's popping up on the Spreaker app before maybe it's popping up other places. That's probably because I go through Spreaker. I don't know. The Great Migration podcast. Yes, it is still available on YouTube. It's not on iTunes, Google Store, whatever it is. It's not on most of the other platforms. It may only be on YouTube, to be completely honest with you. I want to get that and put that back on to Spreaker. I got to find a way to capture that audio. And I'm not really good at this stuff. Their app's foolproof for the most part. What happened was I tried to upload it. It actually uploaded it to everything, but wouldn't take it off my cue screen. So I thought, it's uploaded everywhere. Because, it's on my iTunes when it first popped up, because I have something, I'm subscribed to it. That way it shows me. I see what it looks like from your end. When it first popped up, it was on there. And then when I go back and it was still on my cue screen like a couple hours later, I just deleted it from the cue screen. And when I did, that deleted it from everything except for YouTube for whatever reason. I think it's a good episode, and I really enjoyed that episode. It's one of my favorite ones I've done. If I can, I'm probably going to revisit it anyway. But if I can't find a way to get that audio just back onto Spreaker and back onto iTunes and stuff, because a lot of people are saying they didn't listen to it, and the one question I got was, why is it here and not there? I guess the thing to do is re-record it. I hate that because, it's hard to recapture and kind of get the same feeling. But I believe it's one of my better podcasts. And it's a topic I really enjoy because it is something pertaining to my grandfather, and I always enjoy those topics. Oh man, there was like tons of stuff I had wrote down. So I'll probably end up doing another one of these, because this is definitely not going to be a mini cast. But I'll probably end up doing another one of these to kind of get the ones I missed. The episode I did with my son, where we kind of talked about animation and things of that nature. It was just me and him sitting down. It's a simple, fun little one. Again, one of my favorite ones. There was a question about my son, and I know I know who you are, so I did send you a private message, but I will put this out there. The episode I talk about with me and my son, if you're only watching through YouTube, and at this point, like number-wise, I don't know how anybody's only watching through YouTube, but there's tons of you that swear you are, and I can't figure that out. But if you're only watching through YouTube, you actually won't get that episode. You have to download that episode from iTunes or somewhere of that nature. It has to be anywhere except for, as far as I know, anywhere except for the YouTube platform. It's definitely available on iTunes. The issue there was I record most of these podcasts, especially if it's just me, with my phone. However, if I have a guest in studio with me, or with me, like that, I said in studio. But if I have somebody with me, I've yet learned the art of the phone in like I do on these really good shows that I do that are good at what they do. So I actually have the person sitting there with me a lot of times. I did that with my son. So instead of recording that on my phone, I recorded that on a laptop. And for whatever reason, the shows are directly uploaded to YouTube via the app. That's already set up on my phone. But the studio that, whatever it's called, the studio software that you use through Spreaker on my laptop, for whatever reason, was not set up that way. I'm getting ready to set up another big laptop setup. I've got a mixer. I've got mics. I've never been able to dial in that sound and get the sound that I want. Like I said, I'm trying something different today, and it's because I'm driving and the type of mic I'm using. But I'm probably going to have to re-record this one, or just give it to you sounding awful, because I can see this thing redlining constantly. But the best sound I get is on my iPhone with a headset sitting still, not in the vehicle, anything of that nature. But I want to get a really good sound through the software and things of that nature, so I'm working on that. But that's the reason why the episode I did with my son is not, we just talk animation and things like that and what he's into. I'm going to do a couple more with him. Like, I really like sitting down doing them with him. He's like me. He really likes to talk, so he doesn't have an issue doing them. I like doing them with him because we get to hang out, obviously. So the next ones will definitely be uploaded to YouTube. If I figure out a way to go back and grab that one and put it on YouTube, I will. Why did I stop numbering episodes? Because I don't care, and I don't think anybody else does either. It just go by the title. Like, it would be fun, but the thing is, like, because I've done so many mini casts and so many of these different things that I considered different stuff at the beginning, like, it's 10 or 15 off from where I'm actually at episode wise. If you just count full episodes, blah 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 blah, it counts it different than I counted it, and I don't know. It is what it is. But I don't. It's more fun. The pictures. I don't know how that works. Faith or Michael. Either way, I don't know how that works, and I don't know why that works. But if you do look at YouTube, there's generally a picture or an icon for each episode. Sometimes those are somewhat funny. Like, I do edit them and put my face in weird things. There's the Dave Chappelle one. There's the Hell Comes to Frogtown one. There's been some various ones over the time that I've been doing this. And those have been just kind of put up, and sometimes it's just one of the logos. There's a logo that a guy, a local blacksmith made for me, a guy named Brando made for me. That's the one with the microphone. You kind of see the earth behind it. Like, he can do some wicked stuff with Photoshop and stuff like that. Then, the yellow one, the red one, the black one with the skull, those are just logo ones I've made on the app that just have the show name Talk Junkie in it. But occasionally, or actually a lot of them have, like, a picture of something that at least is relevant to the podcast, or once you've listened to the podcast, like the Planet of the Apes one from the Zombie Apocalypse Planet of the Apes episode. There's a lot, or I used a picture of USA up on that. Things of that nature, they're all there. Let me think. There was another thing I swore I was going to get on here and cover that. I had a serious question, and I don't want to be facetious in any way. It's important to be totally and completely honest. The question was asked in a prior episode, and I mean, these people got on this quick, and that's why I really want to address this one. The people that apparently the zombie apocalypse was a love or hate, but in a time like this, how was I able to get so many people in a studio to record live in front of a studio? Is that not against this gathering policy, that we're currently in, as far as the COVID-19 goes? I've got to be honest with you. The studio audience I use, they're not real. They're buttons on a phone. I know that's hard to take. When I say something extremely funny and you hear It's hard to believe that those people aren't right here with us, you know. And when I make an accomplishment and they cheer, stop it. Look, no. Seriously, everybody, just when I do that, it's hard to believe that they're not here. But that is the Spreaker app. I believe I sent a screenshot back to you when I replied to that email. That's kind of what it looks like. That's how it works. It also lets me put my music in there. Man, I really wish there was a way to stop listening to this, because I'm watching those red lines peg out. So if this sounds like ass, I'm sorry. Just is what it is. I addressed the Spreaker app. I think that's about everything. We talked about what a horrible, misleading fearmonger I was. I think we took that right off the bat. And hey, in all seriousness, I would love for you to keep listening. But that clearly wasn't my intent. You can't listen to that and really get to that conclusion. You can disagree with something I said in one of the other episodes. I understand that. You cannot like the premises I put forth. But to say that I'm fear-mongering from that, I mean, come on. Come on. That's out there. Like that's some next level conspiracy theory stuff. And that was the one I forgot. That's the one I forgot. Look, I work with this guy, so I'm around him with work from time to time. I've not seen him in a while, but yes, I'll answer you here instead of an email or something like that, or I'll text you later. Conspiracy theories is coming up very, very shortly. Very shortly. I really think it would be fun to have a couple people on and do different conspiracy theories. But I'm going to do one as a whole on a bunch of conspiracy theories and how I feel about them, or how I felt about them in the past compared to how I feel about them now. Because if you know me, that has changed. It's changed dramatically. One of the coolest conspiracy theories. It is a little dark and maybe not the right time to talk about it. I don't believe it's true either, but it's cool, and it has cool, because a lot of times for me, that's what I get out of conspiracy theories. I don't actually believe they're real, oddly enough, but I do find them somewhat entertaining, especially if they have a great premise and there's just enough things around them to make them interesting. I mean, some are more interesting and some are more realistic, and then some are just plain fun and really odd. And if you listen to a podcast called Raving Television Addict, they done a recent episode. I have to go back and look because I don't have a memory, but I believe it's one of the last couple they've done that were about maybe even the COVID-19. If not, I don't know. Listen to all of them, because all of them have good parts on them. And the ones I'm on are less than stellar sometimes, but that's due to me. I don't like to hear my own voice, but they still kill it. And I've made some I've misspoken, said some things wrong on there, so I have a correction sheet that I need to go through on that podcast that is a mile long. So if you really like picking apart things I say, there's some things on there that are doozies. It's a great podcast, and they done one. Brad, the host, was talking about the Umbrella Corporation and how the company in China and the Umbrella Corporation has the same logo, and Corona and raccoon being spelled. Go check it out. It's fun, and I've seen some other things pop up about it. It's just a fun little thing to look at. If you can't enjoy life, I mean, it makes it really hard. It makes it really hard. There was a couple questions. Look, there's some people that contact me on a regular basis, and I'm about halfway through contacting most of them. I just, occasionally somebody will send me something and I'll be like, hey, what is something you're interested in? So that way I could do an episode like this. So I don't have a whole lot of listeners. It's not like there's hundreds. It's not like there's tens of these people responding. Let's keep some illusion. We're way under 50. We're over 8. Somewhere in there. Somewhere between 8 and 50. But the one thing people either had a question about or thought, this is something I'd like to hear about if on something like this to be a filler is, what are things you've got coming up? Well, the first world problem one, I'll probably record today or sometime. It doesn't mean it'll get released. I tried to time these out, but I think it'll probably be the next one released after this. The conspiracy theory one, I've done what little bit of work I've needed to do on it. It's in there. There is an AI Matrix one that I've got in the works. Hopefully be coming up pretty soon. Every year I watch basically a lot of the same movies over and over again, and I do that in different kind of time frames. Like there's summer movies I watch pretty well every summer or every other summer, something of that nature. There's Christmas movies, Thanksgiving movies. Well, not Thanksgiving, but Christmas and Thanksgiving movies together. There's Halloween movies. There's those things that make me a certain time of year brings those movies, or those movies bring me joy in a certain time of year, basically. I'm going to do a list for the summer ones, spring to summer ones coming up. That should be in the near future. So, going to do it. There's a couple, like, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to kind of just let them pop up and come out and not be super, super, like, not give any fair warning, just let them be, oh, that's an interesting one, because I don't know when they'll come out, and, they're not really time sensitive. I've started to record this once or twice. One where I talk about partying and drugs and the opioid situation and be kind of open and candid about things I've done without bringing other people down, or bringing other people's names into it and things like that, being very discreet, but kind of looking at that and how I've changed and how life's changed and how that situation affected a lot of people. That's one that's, like I said, I've been in the process of, especially with the laptop where I can kind of go back and look at things, record something, go back and look at it. That one's highly possible to be a multi-parter, or at least to be one of my favorites when I do find a way to get it done. The Hillbilly Effigy one, I'm so torn on it. Like, I wanted to find a bootleg copy of the book, but I had a family member that's got the book, and I'm not completely done with it. It's like, do I want to give him the attention? Like, I don't have a problem with him writing it. That's different. If it's fiction, I really don't have a problem with somebody writing something. But he is writing his life experiences. He just ain't my type of guy. And I can tell by the way he's writing this, he's not the type of dude I'd hang out with. I believe that his depictions are grossly inaccurate, but I feel he has the right to do that. I also feel that the way to protest something like that is to challenge it to a certain level publicly, but not to overly give it recognition, and definitely not to try to silence it. I don't believe in censorship, even if I hate what I'm hearing. So, I don't know. The rest of the world's going to think what they're going to think about it. I'm going to love where I'm from and who I am and who the people that are around me are regardless. But I don't like when they're disrespected and treated unfairly. And I don't know. But if you would like to hear a great counter to that, go on YouTube and listen to The Great Migration. We talk about a little bit about workers up north from here. I think that's about everything. Again, I'm not trying to fearmonger or hurt your feelings. I'd like for you to keep listening. I really would. I don't. I do it out of fun. You never exactly expressed what your concerns were with what I said. I don't know if you think that people are going to believe we're in a zombie apocalypse. I don't know. I never said that to any way. We're a long way off from that, in my opinion, a fairly long way off from the zombie apocalypse. I would have to say more than likely, before the zombie apocalypse ever happened, somebody will probably restart the Matrix. Our simulation will be kicked back over, and we'll either go back to the beginning of the simulation. I would assume the beginning of this simulation is actually somewhere in about 1980. I think that would explain. I can't get too much into that because that is per the simulation episode. Yeah, we can't get too high on that. Or too fun. I really like quotes, and I have a book. It's if you've noticed, if you have me on any social media that I have left, personally, I don't know if you do or not. If you don't, it's no big deal. But on one I was supposed to picture the other day, it's the hand guide for the recently deceased from Beetlejuice, except it's a paperback notebook, and in it I write things. Sometimes show notes, but mostly show notes go into a separate book, and I think I'm going to keep them there because what I originally bought that book for and what it's mostly used for is to write down quotes that I hear that I really like. And what I'd like to do is at the end of each episode is throw you out with a really good quote. And I had a quote picked out for this one. And I can remember some quotes and some quotes I can't. And I can't remember word for word the quote. I like for a quote to be fairly accurate when I say it, and this is not a quote that I'm extremely familiar with. But I'm driving, and I'm using a headset, and I'm doing things safe and legally, and I'm not going to be able to grab my book and look at it and give you the quote, and that's tragic. But that is something I'm going to start doing in the future because I love quotes and I like the idea of sharing them. I also really like poetry and literature, and I've thought that it would be good to do some of that, to either read a poem of mine or read a poem of somebody else's, or maybe an excerpt from certain things, because that's what I like, and I like to do that, and I thought that would work good. We've turned a mail call minicast into almost a 40-minute episode. Dear God Almighty, do I like to talk. And if I turn this off and the sound is as atrocious as I'm sure it is, I may not even be able to post it. But if you're still hearing it anyway, that means one of two things: the sound wasn't as bad as I thought it was, or I decided I just didn't give a crap. Either one of those are possible. I don't know. For the lady that was worried about the zombie apocalypse episode, anytime I say something like zombie apocalypse and it's followed by a sound effect like this, probably not serious. Cheer up. Be good to each other. Treat each other well. Like each other. And if you can't like them, then at least accept them for who they are. And expect the same in return. Because that's only right and only fair. They should appreciate and accept you for who you are. Unless you're a complete and total douche. Or they're a complete and total douche. Then at that point, just write them off. It's okay. Cutting toxic people out of your life is not a bad thing. It took me a second, but by golly, right at the end, I remembered that one. Yes, I do 100% stand by the fact that people who are blood related to you are no more valuable than someone who is good to you, true to you, and has value to you in your life. Blood relation means nothing. blood is thicker than water, but so is oil and many other things. It's a ridiculous statement. No, just because somebody's related to you does not mean that they matter or that you have to keep them in your life. If they are a cancer that is eating at you and your family, then cut them off and throw them away. And yes, it is okay to cut toxic people, regardless of relation, off from your life. That was a question. Do you really stand by that? Do you really believe in that? How could you do that to a family member if you actually know me, which I assume somebody would ask that question in the way that it was asked and the ridiculous name that you used. I'd have to go back and look. Maybe you are related to me. Yes, I truly cut those two people off. The one died without seeing me. I told her she was dead years ago to me, and I kept that promise. My son does not know who she is, does not remember her, couldn't have picked her out of a lineup. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't go to the deathbed. I have no regrets, no remorse whatsoever about that. She was a monster, and you're a monster just like her, and I will treat you the same exact way. You do not exist to me. My grandfather would always say, forgiveness is for the righteous. Wait, no. To forgive is to be righteous. To forget is to be foolish. I am neither one. Not righteous or foolish. There you go. There's your quote of the day. It was butchered completely, but my grandfather would say something very similar to that, and so I have said that exact thing for the entirety of my life. To forgive is to be righteous. To forget is to be foolish. I am neither foolish nor righteous. Have a wonderful, wonderful, sunshine-filled, zombie apocalypse day.